Crack-a-lacking, audience? What's crack-a-lacking? Oh, hope you're doing good. Here we are on the next one. Oh, I want to talk about relationships. um, because I think it's a very interesting game, relationships. And particularly, I want to talk about romantic relationships. And as always, I like to um, just refer to most simple and basic observations. You know, the question I'm raising today is what is going on when a man or a woman goes for the bad girl or the bad boy? Um, what is this polarity attraction that is going on? You see? And what exists in physics and in nature, that there is an attraction between the the person with an open heart and the person with the closed heart. There is an attraction there. There is an attraction, like somebody is with the soul is very attracted with somebody with the ego, and that's basically where the savior complex comes from, and so on and so on, right? And the ego is very attracted to the soul is very attracted to the ego, because there has to be reconciliation happening there. Okay? And so the ego is learning to open the heart and obviously love, and the soul is learning wisdom. Okay? The persons with the ego still have not gone to the point where they have the heart open, and the person with an open heart is now uh, attracted, very strongly attracted to somebody with, like, the heart of coal, in order to gain wisdom. That's what's going on. There's nothing wrong. For example, say like, oh, why do I always go for the wrong guys? Why do I always go for the wrong girls and stuff like that? Nobody in the world would convince you otherwise. Like, if somebody would tell you like, no, that's, don't go for this girl, don't go for this guy, you would still do it. Why? Because it's physics, it's energy. Okay? And you're gonna have to go for it, and you're gonna have to figure out by yourself, um, and that will bring you wisdom. And it's always, there's two sides of it, right? And you got this it's very interesting, when you're in it, like, it's not that fun, but when you're out of it, then you can see everything clearly, and it's like, oh my god, this is like a telenovela drama. And you have one side, usually the person with an open heart, um, is kind and wants to get that person out of that ego, whether it's a man or a woman. It's always like that. You have, like, the man with an open heart is trying to save the girl, trying to be a hero, and a woman with an open heart is trying to be the heroine. She's trying to turn the monster into the gentleman. That's that fantasy, you see. And it's always two sides, and the family on one side, and the friends, the family and friends on one side, and the family and friends on the other side. And so, on one side, and the person with the closed heart, friend says like, no, don't go with this guy or girl, because they know that they're going to lose him or her. Why? Because they're going to bring out the heart in them, and so they won't be able to relate, and so they will lose the friend who's playing with them, and doing all sorts of mischief, you see. So out of that selfishness, they don't want that person to be in a relationship with somebody else who is with an open heart, right? And then the people with an open heart, they say like, oh, don't go, it's a bad news, bad guy, bad girl, um, definitely going to hurt you, they don't care about you, blah 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 blah, right? So there's two sides of it, and vilifying each other. But the reality is, let's be honest, because there's always one person has an open heart and another one has a closed heart. People sometimes call it like narcissist and empath or whatever, but these are just labels, you know. I don't like, me personally, I don't like these labels. um, but the reality is that there is this attraction. There's nothing you can do about it until that attraction will reconciliate, right? Until the person with the closed heart starts opening the heart, and the person with um, uh, the open heart begins to learn wisdom, starts gaining divine boundaries, and learning the difference between martyrdom and sacrifice. And so the lesson there is got to stop being a martyr. You cannot use your energy in an unfair manner, um, because they don't produce their positive energy. Like, you can't just give it to them, because you're breaking the law of nature, because energy has to be reciprocated. There's another thing that sometimes people teach, like when they say, well, you do something for somebody and you don't expect anything back in return, right? People say that. um, on a certain level this, like, may be true, okay? But just because you don't expect anything back, because you do it with an open heart, doesn't mean that in some way it has to be reciprocated. Maybe not from the same person, maybe from somebody else, but that reciprocation must take place. And the reality is that we want to have the reciprocation from the person that we are attracted to or love, right? The reality is that we do want that reciprocation, but we can demand it, and we don't, like, you 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 don't demand it, but you do it with no expectation of that being returned. But when it starts being stolen from you, then of course you realize that something ain't right. And so probably it's a good idea to start learning wisdom and realize that it's also your responsibility, that there has to be equal exchange of energies. It has to be an energy exchange, not energy theft. Okay? And that's the wisdom part, right? And on the other side, the people start needing to, they have to start learning that the way is through the way to have relate with one another is through honesty and openness, and not all sorts of techniques, coping mechanisms, and manipulations, right? So what we learn from this is that there is this attraction and nobody's going to stop it, and the bad guy is going to go with the bad girl, good girl, and the good girl is going to go with the bad guy. That's the first phase, right? And but you can learn from that one relationship and never repeat the same cycle again. You're gonna have to, most likely you're gonna have to have that relationship, okay? Because you're not gonna listen to anybody. The attraction is going to be very strong, and you're probably gonna have that relationship, and you're probably gonna have your heart broken, and so on. But that breaking of the heart is important, because that heart is like a, like, you know what I mean, like a snake shedding its skin. You break that heart until you discover something beyond it, deeper heart. Okay, so you shed that sort of like imperfect heart, and you find something that is more perfect. This is why going through the heartbreak is actually, well, I want to talk about this before I'm gonna go on to the next subject, I want to just dig deeper on this, the heartbreak thing. So when you finally learn that um, you're not going to help that person, and no matter how much love you have for them, it's not about love, it's about wisdom, and it's about you learning to setting up, you know, breaking this old heart and discovering this new heart that has these divine boundaries and does not respond. That type of heart does not respond, it does not have the same attraction to that energy anymore. Okay, but for the first one, you have to break the first one, you have to break that heart. This is why there's nothing wrong. You know, it's like, well, I made a mistake. No, this is part of life and you have to have your heart broken. But if you do it right, for example, if you feel um, grief because of the broken heart, as with everything, you can approach it in two ways. Okay, you can grieve, and then you can use your brain and interpret that emotion and say, poor little me, and so kind of move on that direction of a victim. And you can cry and sob because you're a victim, and your brain tells you that you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim, right? That's not the way to go. That's not the way to feel. Okay, because that will just propagate this belief that you're the old belief that must be broken, that you're not worthy. And you know, and so this is why you go for the people that are treating you like crap, because the belief says, like, you know, that they may not be worthy for something. But anyway, something more. So to break that belief, you gotta go into that sensation of grief, but not away from it. This is a different type of approach. And you go into this, and it might be painful, but if you keep going and keep going and feeling it and feeling it and feeling it without interpreting with the mind, but just feeling it, you will experience a certain type of connection to love and wisdom. That's what's behind the grief, and that's why it's from the addiction to connection. That's the transition, and that's the purpose of that relationship. You gotta break that addiction, which was lack of wisdom, to um, gain a connection. And you do discover the connection. You can call this connection with the spirit or whatever. Or you're actually connecting with some energy that you've been looking for. This, you're fulfilling your desire behind that grief. Okay, and you, that is why now you, if you do this, you go towards the right direction, because you start at the beginning. First, you got to discover that behind that pain, which is very strong desire, that there is fulfillment. And once you discover the fulfillment behind that pain, you start discovering the love, the wisdom, basically the love, the feelings, everything that you've been looking for in that person and never gave it to you, you discover in that energy. And that energy, then you start, you know, the certain type of images may be coming from this, and that may depend on your personal experience, but those images will begin creating a new story for you. Okay, and every time you break that through, you lose the attraction for these types of people. You lose the attraction. Okay, addiction and attraction for these types of people. And you begin feeling something else, because the same attraction that you had before, it was more like a lust based, and so this is why, you know, sometimes you may be familiar with attraction just through lust, but then you start feeling another type of attraction, which is through love, and you're beginning to be interested in love relationships. and lose interest in lustful ones. So, you know, like if you're a man or a woman and you talk about having your, there's a dark queen and there's a light queen. And so let's say if you have a relationship with the dark queen, that's the one that you gotta break through, break that heart, discover your new heart of wisdom, and that's gonna connect you with your light queen. The dark queen is still going to be there, and the energy may be still there, but you're transmuting it all. You're transmuting and transmuting it all, and you only share it with your light queen. The same thing with the dark king and the dark, excuse me, the dark king and the light king. Okay, that's pretty much the story that's happening to us. It's not wrong. You didn't make a mistake. You sign up to live this story, and if you continue your mythology, um, you'll see how everything had to happen in order for you to meet somebody else that you would not even recognize before. You would not even feel the attraction because you're addicted um, to the dark queen or the dark king. You can't see you know, these. Your partner may be very close to you, but you can't see it because you're still lost in that energy of darkness. Okay, so that's why the heartbreak is actually good news, um, because you gotta break that heart that was attracted to uh, the suffering in order to discover the heart that is attracted to bliss. And so that's all physics. And um, the dark king or a dark queen, they're doing you a favor because they're acting as a catalyst. It's very quick and very fast way to uh, bring out your soul of diamond, so to speak. Very fast, very quick, but very painful. And if you don't repeat the same old cycle, and because what sometimes people do is they break up with one person, then they curse that person, and then they go and and say sometimes they say, "Do you know how many people I had to sleep with to get over you?" You know, and the reality is that they didn't, because the sleeping with other people they does not make you get over. You know, it's actually just creates more of darkness inside you, and now you have to deal with even more. But if you, after the breakup, you don't use the solution of sleeping with other people to forget, and you actually go into the grief and deal with it. This is why sometimes, you know, people, the friends, sometimes they see like, oh yeah, forget about it. You know, let's go party. Let's, you know, let's have fun. Let's have sex, and let's, you know, let's just forget about it. And that's not a good idea. At that moment, there is time to party. There is time to enjoy. But at that moment, when you're grieving, the last thing you want to do is with that bleeding heart and go and open it up to some stranger. You're probably going to be even darker than your partner, than your original partner, and it's gonna, then you're still gonna have to go back to the grief, and now it's gonna be even more painful if you decide to go that way. But the best thing to do is, if you're grieving, if the heart is broken, people say like heart is broken, don't worry about it. You have infinite number of hearts. Um, break it fully. You gotta break that open. Once you break that open, that's where the light starts coming in. We gotta break that heart open. The light's gonna start coming in. And you can do it while partying and hanging out with other people. That's not the way. You got to take your time. If you can get some solitude, um, and you got to go all in until it's gone. Okay? And it may be reoccurring. You may have released it, you've done it, you feel the relief, oh my god, I'm free, and then again another layer comes in, and then you gotta do it again. There might be few layers before it's really gone, but it doesn't matter as long as you're willing to go there and break through it into another side. That will release you permanently. You understand? You're not going to be attracted to these types of people. And after, you can even test yourself. Hang out with the same type of people, or man or woman that you used to, that you had an attraction with, and see what's going on. That energy is going to be different. You're not going to be interested the same way. You may still want these people around as like a distant acquaintance, because you still want that energy kind of close. You don't want to shut that energy off completely, because there's something there to transmute. And so it's not, you see, because you want to take the energy, just like you reverse the game. At first the Dark Queen was taking energy from you, right, and feeding to the Dark Lord. Now you're taking energy, that negative energy from her or him, doesn't matter, and you turn it into organized energy, and you share it with your true partner. Okay? But there seems that these energies are still out there, but they're not bad anymore to you. You see, they come in and it actually just lights you up, and it then becomes like a positive energy exchange. But you are not interested in having these types of intimate and close relationships, because there's no, the part that wanted to open the heart to these people is gone. It's not there anymore. And that's how you know that you're done with that chapter of your life. And that's it, really. There's no need for therapies, there's no need for nothing. It's actually just solitude and going within and feeling everything there is to feel without interpreting and making yourself into a victim. What you're going to find behind that grief is going to blow your mind. And it will feel like birth, it will feel like your chest is freaking ripping open. But you gotta go, and you gotta break through it, okay? And I'm just giving you like an honest, permanent solution, because I'm not interested in hooking you up on some freaking courses or some healing sessions or whatever, which is another coping mechanism. You see? That's what I've done. I went all the way and I faced it. And then there's nothing else left there to feel. And there was nothing more but peace and bliss. That's what was behind that energy. You see? And now you're becoming more sensitive to this same types of energies around you. The new chapter of your life, which now you are actually ready for the fairy tale story and a happy ending. Until you completely broken that imperfect heart, you were not ready. You would have repeated the same cycle over and over again. And And look, like, it's this type of event to actually completely break through is massive. It's massive. It has a cosmic scale. This is why, what you expect that is just going to be um, easy. It's like I'm saying, to me, it's like a giving birth. I'm never given birth, never gonna give birth in this life, but that's what's intuitively was coming to me and saying, yep, that's exactly. You you can't stop it. You gotta break through it. You gotta um, you gotta do it. You know. And so, yeah, let me get my tea. Okay, so yeah, pretty much that's where I want to end. There is a polarity between the dark and light. That's why you're going for these people, because there's something inside you that is craving for wisdom. Your desire actually is to have that beautiful relationship that you always dreamed of, but that person came into your life and you were attracted to that person in order to break that heart that was always living in the same cycle. And then the new heart is there, and that is your gift. Now you will be able to see it. Now you have eyes to see. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same attraction. Um, and don't look for the same, because your brain may be looking for the same. But this is completely different world, and completely different intensity, and it's not lust based at all. Okay, what else can I say about that? Ah, another thing I want to say about this is there is this, the question you may raise and say, what if I just go directly for, the person that is good for me? um I don't think you would be able to go directly to the person that is good for you, because the attraction will still be there to the bad girl, the bad boy. You gotta go through that, break that heart, and then you're going to be ready. That's the story, that's the mythology. um that's what it seems like to me. It seems like that's what's going on. People may be telling me something and I would not hear it. I would still go for it, right? Because the energy is the energy, the physics is the physics, and you do have to go for it. But the problem is that if you remain in the cycle and you don't break it, you got to break through it. If you break through it, the cycle is over. That's the important part. Because the problem is that you go from one relationship to another, and you're dating, and you actually, or even marrying the same type of person. So you're living the same life over and over again. Your wife might be getting younger and younger, but that's the same type of energy, same type of arguments, same type of things. If you're freaking done with that shit, you gotta go through, you know, you gotta rip that band-aid off. And that's all I have to say about relationships, the romantic relationships. Yeah, and it's still a good question to see if, because whether it's possible to go directly to somebody that's good for you, because it's a different type of attraction. You see, at first there's an attraction because of this like immature soul and ego, right? It's attraction between the polarities, but then the attraction is between the okay, I should say there's attraction between human polarities, but then there's an attraction between divine polarities. It's actually gender becomes about the gender rather than the good and the evil. It has an attraction, and then there's the divine masculine, divine feminine has an attraction. That energy of peace is very attracted to the energy of bliss. Energy of bliss is very attracted to the energy of peace. Okay, and then you're playing a different game. I really think it's that simple. And then another thing I have to say, if you're going for it, if you're going for this narcissist or whatever, the person who's still learning to open the heart, go all in. Like the less I know it would be like backwards advice, right? To say like, well, don't go there. I would say have one relationship like that, go all in and learn all these lessons. But I don't mean learn lessons with your brain. I mean actually that energy that was attracted to these types of people, you got to break that through. So, and use it fully. You can have one relationship, completely commit to it, and then you're gonna have to completely break that imperfect heart. And once you decide to do it, there's not going to be left any kind of resentment or kind of this idea that I was a victim. How dare they to do this to me? How dare they take my confidence? How dare they take my innocence and stuff like that? Because what you're gonna be gaining in exchange of that story, you're gonna realize that holy shit, like I graduated in one fell swoop. It didn't take me many lifetimes. It was intense and short, and you broke through like many levels in one fell swoop. And it's only this type of story will allow you to do this, as far as I know. You don't need to breathe in the cave, meditate for 20 years. None of that stuff. Just have a total breakdown of your heart. And it's there. Like, the good question would be, if I had a daughter, would I would probably explain it to her, and and life is life. She's gonna have her heart broken, but that heart meant to be broken, and something much more beautiful is gonna come out of it. I wouldn't lie. I won't try to, you know, shelter her from the world, but I would give all the principles of how the world works and make sure that it's done safely. But the pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. But there's this good pain, you see? I don't see that pain as bad pain. There's a growing pain and there's some damaged pain. This is a growing pain. This is good pain, you know? I now that I see for what it is I know we use the word pain, but I would not even use the same word anymore. Because it's just type of intensity of the energy, the light, this is what it is. Pain is basically the portal through which light comes in. Anyway, hopefully that helps. And I'll see you next one. Peace.